Bones are important. Bones hold us upright. Everyone is on these great big calcium supplements, and everyone has osteoporosis. One of the problems with bones today is people are taking things that are leaching these minerals out. So I've got some good news. You can save money by not buying any more calcium supplements. Thank you for joining me today. I'm Barbara O'Neill, and I'm thrilled to have you here. Today we're diving into a topic that is absolutely vital as we age: bone health. Whether you're struggling with weak bones, concerned about fractures, or simply looking for natural ways to strengthen your skeletal system, you've come to the right place. Together we'll explore practical natural remedies and lifestyle tips to help you maintain strong, healthy bones without relying on medication. Let's start by understanding just how crucial your bones are. They're not just a framework that holds you upright. They play an active role in producing blood cells, storing essential minerals, and protecting your organs. But as we grow older, our bone health often faces challenges due to the choices we make in our daily lives, increasing the risk of osteoporosis and fractures. But today, I'll show you how simple choices can make a profound difference in protecting and nourishing your bones. The skull protects the most important organ in the body, and yet the most delicate organ in the body, which is the brain. The only exposed bone in the whole body are teeth. Dentists make a fortune because so many people, their teeth are breaking down. I don't know whether you are familiar with the work of Dr. Weston Price. He's a dentist who in the 30s, he went all around the islands photographing people's teeth. Teeth, perfect alignment. And then in some countries, only 10 years later, some of these islands, white man had come in with the devitalized food and he took more photographs. In fact, his whole book is just about photographs. And there the teeth started to be cramped because the people weren't getting the nutrition. So our bones need nutrition. Unfortunately, today there's a condition called osteoporosis, which is bones, they're breaking up far too young. You see, our bones should be strong till the day we die. So what I'd like to look at in this presentation on osteoporosis is what causes the deterioration of our bones and how we can strengthen our bones. There is a misconception today that bones are made of calcium, but bones are not made of calcium. Bones are made of a mineral balance. You see, calcium is called the king, and this is where the problem arises. I think this is where the misconception about calcium has happened. It's called the king because when calcium gets into the cell, all the other minerals piggyback on the back of calcium. So yes, he does deserve the title of king. But bones are not made of calcium. Bones are made of 12 minerals and 64 trace minerals. Let me show you. So the minerals that bones are made up of are boron and calcium. There certainly is some calcium in there, chromium and iron and magnesium and manganese and selenium and sulfur and silica, potassium, phosphorus and zinc. That's what bones are made of, and 64 trace minerals. So the million-dollar question is, where do we find such a thing? In his book, The Calcium Lie, Dr. Robert Thompson gives a very good illustration of this. He says, this is his view, he says the clearest indication of a creator God is seawater. He said, you think about it. The rain comes down, it washes into the rivers. On my morning walk this morning, I was going by a fast river, and we've had a lot of rain here in Vancouver. And the water was a milky colour. You know what the milk is? It's minerals that have been washed down from the heavy rains. And by the time the waterways get to the sea, it's a very salty taste because of the minerals. You see, in seawater, there are approximately 92 minerals. And the reason why Dr. Robert Thompson says that the seawater is the clearest indication of a creator God is because that mineral balance and proportion that you will find in seawater is what you'll find in your bones, is what you'll find in your blood, is what you'll find in every tissue of the body, the fluid that the brain swims in, the lymphatic fluid. It is all this same balance.
Did you know that the minerals in seawater closely mirror what our bodies need? Seawater contains sodium, calcium, magnesium, potassium, and trace elements like iodine and zinc. These minerals are critical for nerve function, muscle contraction, and most importantly, bone strength. However, we can't drink seawater directly due to its high salt content. Refined table salt, made from seawater, strips away these balanced minerals and is often bleached and processed with additives. Instead, I recommend natural salts like Himalayan salt, which retain up to 75 essential minerals and offer a balanced, nourishing option for your body.
Every day we should be eating dark green leafy vegetables. If you don't eat dark green leafy vegetables every day, and ideally they should be organic because organic food has a far higher nutrient content because of the microbes in the soil. Remember from one of our other lectures that it's the microbes in the soil that release the minerals out of the soil and put them into the plant. So if you're not having greens every day, you really should have green barley. You really should have a dose of something like wheatgrass or chlorophyll. So there's quite a few available today. They have these minerals in their balanced form. That's what our bones need. So if you are on calcium supplements, my suggestion is that you stop your calcium supplements. Have you noticed in aged care? I've spoken to quite a few nurses who work in aged care, and they say everyone is on these great big calcium supplements and everyone has osteoporosis. It's not doing it. It's not doing it because calcium taken in that form can actually harden the tissues. You see, calcium hardens cement. It doesn't harden bones. It can harden the tissues, it can harden the arteries, contributing to atherosclerosis. We should be taking nutrients into our body the way God put them into the food. So it's very important to have your organic food as much as possible. At our health retreat, we are not 100% organic. It's very difficult to be 100% organic, but we do the best we can. We have a large garden and we have a lot of greens in our garden. So let me define the greens that are very high in these minerals. So you've got spinach and silver beet. Now you have something we don't have in Australia, collard greens. They're also very, very high. And remember, when you cook them, you do not lose your minerals. The only way you could lose your minerals if you were to cook the vegetables and then throw the water away. Remember in the old days, women on their fuel stoves used to have a pot at the back and they'd put the tops from the turnips, they'd put the tops from the carrots, they'd put the ends from the carrots, and that just boiled away slowly all day, and then they'd strain it and they used that as their stock for their soups. You see, when a soup or a dish has a lot of minerals, that's high flavour. It's to the point now you can go into shops and buy stock cubes, can't you? But be careful because a lot of stock cubes have monosodium glutamate in them. And be careful because monosodium glutamate today can be called natural flavour enhancer. It can also be called hydrolyzed vegetable protein, hydrogenated vegetable protein. Very important to become aware of the names of monosodium glutamate. Monosodium glutamate is a neurotoxin. It's also called an excitotoxin. It causes brain cells to overfire, and when they overfire, they deteriorate and die. So you don't want to go anywhere near those. So your organic food, your vegetables are the highest minerals, and of your vegetables, the highest is your greens. So we should be having dark green leafy vegetables every day. With my children, I used to always serve them the salad first. I didn't bring the potatoes on the table, I didn't bring the lentils on the table, I didn't bring the bread on the table. All that stayed in the kitchen until the salad was eaten.
Let's talk about greens. Salads with leafy vegetables like kale, spinach, and arugula are powerhouses of calcium, magnesium, and vitamin K. Nutrients that are indispensable for building and maintaining strong bones. Adding nuts, seeds, and fruits boosts their nutritional profile with magnesium, potassium, and vitamin C, which are essential for improving bone density and preventing osteoporosis. But remember, when cooking greens, avoid draining away the water, as it often contains these vital nutrients. Use it in soups or stews to ensure nothing goes to waste.
One of the problems with bones today is people are taking things that are leaching these minerals out. One is caffeine. Caffeine has a very acid effect on the body. And what happens when acid-forming foods are taken into the body? Let's make a list of the acid-forming foods. So we're going to make a no here. These things should not go into the body. So caffeine and meat, whether it be white or red, dairy products. The only dairy product that probably is on a acid-alkaline scale of neutral would be raw milk from an organic cow. But myself, I'm a fifth-generation Australian Scottish descent. I can't handle the cow's milk very well. I acknowledge that there are some people who've got dairy in their heritage who can handle it. The problem is, if you give the cow's milk that's in the shop to a newborn baby calf, that calf will die. So there's a big difference between raw and not raw. So your dairy products have an acid effect. Also, the hybridized wheat of today, it was hybridized in the 50s, went worldwide in the 70s, so by the 1990s, all the breads, the pastas, the cereals are all made out of the hybridized wheat. And the intensive crossbreeding that it went through created a very acid, or created a wheat that leaves quite an acid residue. So all of these foods leave an acid effect in the body. Now, anything that leaves an acid effect in the body, it actually leaches calcium out. Let me explain. The most acidic substance is sulfuric acid, and the most alkaline substance is calcium. And when a person is having high caffeine, meat, dairy products, another couple are alcohol and tobacco. So when a person is taking all of these things in, it creates a very acid condition in the blood. Now, if that acid condition goes too low, you see, our blood should be between 7.35 and 7.4. Now, if it drops down to 7.22, that person will go into a coma and die of acidosis. So as soon as it starts to drop, because the person's having such a lot of acid-forming foods, the body says, we've got a crisis here. The lungs and the kidneys are trying very hard. They're two organs that are constantly keeping the acid-alkaline balance right. And because it's dropping so low, the body yells out, we've got to get our last resort buffer system. The calcium, the most alkaline mineral, is pulled out of its biggest storage house, which is the bones. It comes into the blood in a form of calcium phosphate, comes into the blood, neutralizes that acid condition, and then it goes back to what it should be, and the person's safe, but now at a cost. Now we have free calcium excess floating through the blood, and the body says, now what are we going to do with this? So it dumps it on the bones as bone spurs. It dumps it in the joints as gout, arthritis. It dumps it in the kidneys, contributing to kidney stones, in the gallbladder, contributing to gallstones, and I'm sure we've heard of all of those things. And if a person goes to the doctor with a sore lump on their wrist, the doctor says, oh, that's a bone spur. And you might say, well, what is a bone spur? And he will say, it's a calcium deposit. So what's the next question? Because we always should have the questions on the tip of our tongue. Why has the body dumped it on my bone and not in my bones? Unless the doctor has studied nutrition, he may not know. And the beauty of castor oil, do you remember Psalm 104 verse 14, that God gave herbs for the service of man? The beauty of castor oil is you can put castor oil on that bone spur and it'll break up the bone spur, but it will never break up your bone, because that's what herbs do. They just work with the needs of the body. But it explains why people are getting bone spurs. It's because of the acid environment that these foods create, causing a leaching of calcium out of its storage house to negate that acid residue. So that is a big contributing factor to osteoporosis, is having foods that create an acid environment in the body.
On the topic of leaching minerals, let's touch on common habits that drain our bodies of these precious elements. Over-processed foods, excessive caffeine, and even certain cooking methods can lead to significant mineral loss. These deficiencies can weaken your bones over time, so focus on natural, minimally processed foods and cooking techniques that preserve nutrients.
But the bones need rest. They need to be fully rested and revived every night. And a lot of bones aren't getting that. And the best exercise for strengthening the bones is rebounding. Strength comes by exercise. There's no other way. We know that about muscles, and we often only refer to muscles, but bones are also strengthened by exercise. And the bone strengthening exercise that is more effective than any other is rebounding. That's why best exercise for kids, get a trampoline. And if they've got a spare moment, where are they? On the trampoline. I've come to the conclusions people get old because they stop jumping. And that jumping is constantly going against gravity. And that's why it's such a powerful form of exercise. I read a book by Albert Carter, and he was I think it was an Olympian trampolinist, and he wanted to know why it had such an effect. And the only place he could find in the 1980s, 90s that did research on it was NASA. And NASA found it was the only form of exercise that prepared their astronauts for outer space, because in outer space, there's no gravity. And they found when their astronauts came back, sometimes they'd suffered 25% bone and muscle loss. That's a lot. So they discovered that trampolining before, they didn't lose as much, and trampolining when they got back restored them quicker than any other form of exercise. And if you're not used to the rebounder, which is a little trampoline, remember, just start with a health bounce. And if your balance isn't good, the rebounder will restore your balance, because our balance is set by the bottom of our feet and the fine mechanisms in our ear. And what rebounding does is it resets that. One lady said, well, every time I try and rebound, I lose a bit of urine. I said, well, empty your bladder before you get on. That's the best way, because that's the very exercise that will help strengthen your pelvic girdle and will also strengthen your urethral muscle, which sits inside your pelvic girdle. And I think I heard my daughter giving some very colourful descriptions on how to strengthen such things. So that's the best bone strengthening exercise. And the little rebounder is easy. A lady said, well, I won't buy one. We've got a trampoline. I said, yeah, but you'll never go out there. Have you noticed? You're gonna. In fact, that's real Australian, isn't it? We're gonna go out there, but you actually don't go out there. But if you've got a little rebounder, and you've got to make an appointment with yourself. If you don't make an appointment with exercise, you will not exercise. And remember, when we looked at our immune system, we looked at where our red and white blood cells are made. Where are they made? Bone marrow, in the bone marrow. And so strengthening the bones strengthens your body's ability to make your red and white blood cells.
Physical activity stimulates your bones, improving their strength and density. When you exercise, your body produces more red and white blood cells, boosting circulation and even enhancing your immune system. One particularly effective and enjoyable form of exercise for bone health is using a rebounder trampoline. This gentle, low-impact activity involves bouncing on a mini trampoline, and it's a powerful way to strengthen your bones and joints without placing undue stress on them. The up and down motion of rebounding increases bone density by stimulating your skeletal system to adapt to the gentle forces involved. Rebounding also improves circulation and lymphatic drainage, which helps detoxify the body and deliver essential nutrients to your bones. It's easy on the joints, making it suitable for people of all ages, and it can also enhance balance and coordination. Just 10 to 15 minutes a day on a rebounder can make a noticeable difference in your overall bone health and vitality.
So 6 is proper diet. When I was a little girl, we used to have a glass of milk in recess. All school children had to have a little bottle of milk. I hated it. It used to make me feel ill. I know now that I have an intolerance to dairy. And why did they give it to the school children? To strengthen their bones. But it's actually a fallacy. Let me show you. A glass of milk. Here's a glass of milk. And a glass of milk is high in calcium, yes. But those cows, they got 5 stomachs to be able to access that calcium. So it's not in a form easy for us to access. But that glass of milk is also very high in protein. And this is animal protein, and only 58% of that animal protein is burnt as fuel. So what that leaves is a 42% waste. And this waste is a high sulfur waste, which is very acidic. And what does the body use to negate acid? Calcium. So actually, do you know how much calcium is left for our body from a glass of milk? None. And the countries in this world, which are the highest dairy consumers, have the highest incidence of osteoporosis. And so the reason why my children used to fall out of Tarzan vines, Emma was a real tomboy. She would climb the trees, the horses, they'd fall off horses. No broken bones. No broken bones. I took them to the dentist. The teeth are all perfect, and yet I didn't give them cow's milk. But every day we ate a lot of dark green leafy vegetables straight from our garden. And we fed the garden so that it was well nourished with compost. And the countries in this world with the strongest bones, let's have a look at the Hunzas in the Himalayan mountains. They don't have hospitals, they don't have doctors, they don't have nurses, they don't even have jails. And they eat food in its natural state. They eat a lot of greens, they have a little bit of sheep yogurt, and they have meat maybe 3 times a year on festive occasions, but their bones are strong. And this is where the game polo came from, is from the Hunzas. So sometimes the over 50s pay the under 50s, and sometimes the over 50s win. Sometimes they fall off horses, but the bones are so strong that if there is a little bit of a crack, it heals very quickly. So it's not from cow's milk, it's actually a misconception, as I just showed you. So we get our minerals from our foods, and the organic foods are a very high source. But as I showed you, many people are losing their minerals because of a high acid, high refined diet and high stimulating diet. Number 7 is use of water. Doesn't seem like our bones need water, but they do, because the blood feeds the bones and blood needs water.
Let's take a closer look at milk. It's often hailed as a key to strong bones, but there's more to the story. While milk is high in calcium, as I mentioned, the form it's in isn't easy for our bodies to utilize. And here's the irony. The protein in milk creates an acidic environment in the body. To neutralize that acid, the body pulls calcium from its own reserves, often from the bones. So instead of strengthening them, milk can actually deplete your bones of calcium. This is why countries with the highest dairy consumption also see the highest rates of osteoporosis. It's a misconception we've been taught for years. On the other hand, cultures like the Hunzas, who eat fresh greens, minimal animal products, and food straight from their gardens, have some of the strongest bones in the world. Their example shows us the power of eating natural, whole foods to get the minerals our bones need. Hydration is another essential piece of the puzzle. Blood is what feeds the bones, carrying vital nutrients like calcium and magnesium, but it needs water to do this effectively. Without enough water, this process is compromised. Staying hydrated is one of the simplest yet most overlooked ways to support bone health. Thank you for joining me today as we explored the essential elements of maintaining healthy, strong bones. From understanding the value of natural salts and nutrient-rich greens to prioritizing hydration and exercise, these small mindful changes can lead to significant improvements in your bone health and overall well-being. If you found these insights helpful, please like and share this video to spread the knowledge. Don't forget to subscribe for more natural health tips and remedies. Remember, your bones are your foundation. Nurture them and they'll carry you through a vibrant and active life.
So there ends my lecture on which has freed and revolutionized many women and men. Thank you.